Now, from that last discussion, it's not absolutely necessary for you to understand every one of those challenges that we presented. The main takeaway from that discussion is just to understand that there's a lot more to modular model building than most people think. We've taken into account all of those challenges when the software was designed. What you're going to see is the tools that we have available in Macabacus are going to help you upload and download financial model schedules really quickly without any of those issues. For now, let's start off with a quick tour of the financial model that we're going to be working with. And we're just going to use Control Page Up, Page Down to flip between the tabs that are available. A lot of people think about financial models in terms of the flow of information. So for instance, they might start here on the Inputs page, which would flow over into the Model tab, and then they would flow over here to the Outputs page. But notice that we don't present them in that order of Inputs, Model, and then Outputs. We present the pages here in a different order. Now, the reason we present these in a different order at CFI is because we've prioritized everything from a presentation perspective. So we want to present the cover page first. The next thing the audience is likely going to want to know is the executive summary, which is effectively what we're presenting here with the sensitivity analysis. Then the audience probably wants to know, well, what are the inputs here which led to those outputs? Finally, we include the Model tab at the back. You can kind of think of the Model tab as like an appendix. This is where somebody would go if they needed to see how we were calculating revenue, or below that, how we're calculating the company's costs. We also have an income statement and a DCF schedule below. But for most of the audience, they will just be interested here in the outputs and the inputs which led to those outputs. Now that we're done that quick tour of the model structure, let's go back over here to the cover page, and we're going to expand the ribbon by tapping Control F1, just like that. Now, if you've joined us in previous Macabacus courses before, you would know that we are big fans of the Explorer pane. So if we look up here in the Macabacus section of the ribbon, we can see right here Explorer pane, which we can access by tapping Alt UE on our keyboard, and the Explorer pane opens up on the left-hand side of the window. Now, if you haven't seen this before, I think you're going to find it's a great way to take an inventory of everything that's in the model. For instance, we can see here the cover page. If we click to expand it, and we hover over here, we can see that there's a graphic or a logo. We can see the print area. Right here is a conditional format that we'll want to think about as well. So let's continue doing an inventory here using the Explorer pane. If we go to the Outputs tab, we're going to see that there's a logo at the top. We can clearly see the print area. The Inputs page is going to be similar, logo, print area. And then on the Model page, we have a logo at the top, 4 print areas corresponding to 4 schedules that we're going to need to think about uploading. And then we have here one conditional format there in row 45 and a second conditional format also in row 45. Now that we've done a quick inventory with the Explorer pane, we can tap Alt UE to close it down again. And what that's done for us is it's made us aware of everything that's in this model. We know that there's logos in place in every tab. We also know that there's some conditional formats there, which we'll also need to check to make sure that they upload properly. So what we've really done here is taken a quick look through the model and made sure that we're aware of everything that's contained in it in terms of all the tabs, all the schedules, the logos, and also the conditional formats. The next video, we're going to start to think about chopping the model up into individual schedules so we can get those uploaded and into Macabacus to start building. We'll see you there. So what we have here is a financial model which is perfectly functional, meaning it's all connected together and it's working correctly. But what we need to do here in order to upload each schedule to Macabacus is we need to make sure that the schedules are all separated, meaning we need to remove any connections which exist from one schedule across to another. Thankfully, Macabacus has some great functions and features, which is going to help us do this really quickly. Let's jump in and take a look. The function that we're going to use first from Macabacus is called Isolate Worksheet. If we go up to the Macabacus section of the ribbon, here under Formulas, we're going to go into the Flatten section, and then we're going to see here Isolate Worksheet. And if we hover over it, we can see near the bottom that this works on everything, except we should take note that this tool does not modify chart formulas. We don't have any charts in this particular model, but if we did, we'd have to manually modify the chart formulas ourselves. Let's back out here and take a look at how this tool works. Now we're going to run this tool a number of times. So what we're going to do is add it to our quick access toolbar to make it faster to execute. Never heard of the quick access toolbar? It's right up here. This area that we're pointing to here is referred to as the quick access toolbar, and we can put different tools and functions up in there to access them really quickly. So what we want to do now is get into the Excel options. So Alt-F-T on our keyboard brings them up. We're going to go down this left-hand side here to quick access toolbar right there. It defaults to popular commands, but we're going to use this drop-down arrow to get here to Macabacus tab. Now we can go into this dialog box and tap I for isolate worksheet. And we're going to look for isolate worksheet right here. And then we can click the add button. This brings it across into the quick access toolbar. Clicking OK, and now we can see isolate worksheet right up there on the quick access toolbar. Now the advantage of having it in the quick access toolbar is we can tap the Alt key, and we can see right up here that now we can use Alt-6 to isolate worksheet. So let's try that. Let's just tap Alt-6, and it says, are you sure you want to isolate the worksheet? This action cannot be undone. Let's click OK or yes to that, and it's replaced one formula with values. What this means is that there was one cell that had a precedent that was on another sheet, and it's now been replaced with values. Let's go over to the outputs page now and do the same thing. Alt-6, and it says, again, are you sure? And we're going to click enter for OK. And again, it's replaced one formula with values again for us to isolate this worksheet as well. Now let's go over to the inputs page as well. Alt-6 to isolate the worksheet. We're going to hit OK, and it said replaced 0 formulas with values, which makes sense. This is an inputs page after all, so it shouldn't have any precedent cells by definition. So what we've really done here is we've gone across these first 3 tabs, inputs, outputs, and cover, and we've isolated each of those worksheets. Because each of those tabs only had one schedule, that means that we've effectively isolated these first 3 schedules. So what this effectively means is that these first 3 schedules are self-contained, or they don't have any precedents that they're relying on. So we've achieved our goal here. In the next video, what we'd like to show you is a neat little technique that we can use to check our work with these first 3 schedules. We'll see you there. So what we want you to do in these videos, in case it isn't obvious, is we want you to follow along every step of the way. You're going to learn so much more. You're also going to have so much more fun. So what we did in the last videos was we isolated the worksheet for the first 3 tabs. So if you haven't done that, please go ahead and do that. And then in this video, what we're going to do is show you a neat technique to make sure that those 3 tabs are isolated. Now, in order to check our work, we're going to be using the auto color functionality in Macabacus. Let's quickly review it. Up to the Macabacus section of the ribbon, here under Format and under Color, we can see at the bottom we have this auto color section. Now we're going to be using, in this case, auto color sheet, and you can see here the shortcut Control-Alt-S. So if we back out of there, the other thing that we want to review is here in Settings. If we go to Settings, Configure, then under here, Colors, if we scroll to the bottom, what we're going to see is all the auto colors. In particular, we're going to be looking at blue for inputs. We're going to be looking at orange for partial inputs, black for formulas, but most importantly, green for worksheet links. The worksheet links should be gone since we isolated the first 3 tabs. So let's just cancel out of here and get started. Now you may remember back to the Explorer pane that there was a conditional format on this page. And in fact, we can see it right here in orange, and it's been tripped. So let's turn it off just by putting a 0 in the cell and hitting enter. And now the conditional format is not being tripped. So let's use auto color sheet to check our work. So we're going to hit Control-Alt-S right here, and that's been done for us. Now we can already see that this tab's been isolated. How do we know that? Well, there's no green worksheet links showing up. So we know there's no connections to any other tabs in this model. Let's pop over to the Outputs tab now and do the same. This can be really quick. Let's just hit Control-Alt-S to auto color the sheet. And right away, we see there's no green worksheet links. Now, it can be hard sometimes to spot different font colors. So we also want to remember, and you would have known this from our previous courses, that we can also leverage the functional map with Macabacus. If we look up here, the Macabacus section of the ribbon, click under Visualize, we can see this functional map tool here. And if you notice, it's also loaded here up into our quick access toolbar in the first position, so Alt-1. What we also have that we can use over here under Alt-5 is clear visualizations. So let's give those a shot to see how they can help as well. So we're going to select the schedule all the way across like this and all the way down to the bottom, just like that. And now we're going to hit Alt-1 for the functional map. What this does for us really quickly is it shades the cells. Very easily we can see now that there's no green shading at all. So now we can hit Alt-5 to clear the visualization. Looks like this output sheet is all cleaned up really nicely. Let's pop over to the input sheet now and do the similar thing. So what we're going to do is auto color the sheet, Control Alt S, just like that. Now we want to select everything and just use the functional map quickly just to check our work. Alt-1, and we can see right away that there's no green cells here. Alt-5 to clear that visualization. Hopefully you can see how auto color selection and also the functional map are a great way to check our work after we've isolated different worksheets. Now in the next video, what we're going to do is we're going to talk about how to mark these three first tabs so that we can easily connect them back together when we start inserting schedules into the model that we're building. See you there.